Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Second Act Cat, RN. And today I wanted to talk about something that popped into my head maybe 3 or 4 days ago. I was just contemplating life and second act and a second career choice or retiring, semi-retiring. And I really wished I had an easy button. Those little red buttons like from Staples, that you push and it says, wow, that was easy. So I wish I could have one of those buttons at this stage in my life, because you might think life is easier as you get older, but it's not always. And maybe in some regards, but not always. So I got to thinking about, how does that easy button theory work with, say, starting a second act or retiring? And some of the things I came up with were using the easy button as a metaphor and reinventing life later at an older age, and thinking that the easy button to me was referring to, I wish there were shortcuts. I wish there was a more direct way or an easier path to finding my second act. And I know there are a lot of you that wish the same thing. If I could just have that easy button and push it, and life would go so much smoother while I'm transitioning to this second act. So the stages in life at this point, later in life, that to me relate to that metaphor, the easy button, is wanting certainty before starting. And I'm going to look at my notes every now and then. I've got some bullet points, but wanting certainty before starting is the first metaphor that, or I guess, use of the easy button to mean. I have 7 items on my bullet point here. So the first one is the wanting certainty before starting. And that's like, at an older age, we feel like we've had this experience. We've gone through everything we've gone through. So that should guarantee success in our next act or our next chapter. And, as wonderful as that sounds, that's just not the case. If I could know ahead of time that I'm going to be successful in starting my next chapter or retiring or finding that next job to work at, whether it's PRN or part-time or full-time, I'm not going to get that certainty that success is going to happen. So the metaphor of the easy button with regard to this highlights the tension between the wisdom gained and the fear of loss. So we gain wisdom as we go along, but we lose things when we get to this point. We've lost maybe connections, family, friends, maybe connections at work, at the job we left. So as I spoke about in another video, when you leave a job, sometimes you don't ever communicate with those friends you made that became like family at that job. So the number one, regarding the metaphor, the easy button, is wanting certainty before starting. So the second metaphor, I guess, would be expecting experience to eliminate discomfort. If that was true, if I could have that, that would just be wonderful, because I would know that everything I do from this point forward isn't going to cause me any discomfort. But that's just not true either. The discomfort we feel comes from, in my mind, comes from starting a new chapter that we're not familiar with. So a new chapter means something that's different than the prior chapter. So something that's in the future, we're not always comfortable with, because we don't know how that's going to go. And expecting that experience, the life experience we've had at these jobs and in life, and the wisdom we've gained, to expect that we won't find any discomfort or experience any discomfort as we're going along working on that second act, that's a fallacy. There's a quiet assumption that because you've lived and worked and survived so much, that starting again should be easier. I've got this. It's in the bucket. I've got everything I need to know to go through this. So the metaphor reminds us that these new chapters are still uncomfortable. So that easy button, it's not gonna work in this case, because you don't know you can anticipate what's going to go on, but you don't know really what you're in for. You only know what you see from this side. And until you get into that or on the other side, you don't really know, that there's going to be an easy way of getting there. You don't know that you're not going to experience discomfort. Chances are, my friend, that you are going to go through discomfort, because it's a new trail. It's a new path. So it's like you're chopping away the weeds and the shrubs and all the sticks and the briars to get down that new path to get to that next place. So there is no easy button for that. So the third metaphor for the easy button at this point in someone's life, when they've worked a long time and then they're thinking about retiring or starting a second act, is the fear of wasting time. Because we know at this age, time is of the essence. There seems to be an implied pressure on us to get the ball rolling and get things going, because at this age, I'm 64, and there's not a ton of years left. I might live to be 100. I don't know. I might live to be 80. I might live to be over 100. Who knows? But at this age, you're kind of wanting to make up time and, not waste the valuable, precious time that you have left. Even though it could be an extended amount of time, it's certainly not 60 years like I've lived already, or 64 years like I've lived already. So that metaphor of the easy button, or the fear of wasting time, that applies. You can't push that easy button and know that your time is going to be spent wisely. You have to work on that, but you never know. Things come up, life happens. So in the earlier years, the time, to me, when I was in my 20s, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, 60 is so far away. That's so old. And you think you have all the time in the world until you're actually here. And once you're here at this older age, all of a sudden, all that time is gone, and you might have wasted a lot of it. I know I did. And I have that fear of wasting time as time goes on at this age. So that easy button, to me, is a metaphor for that. So number 4, the easy button. I wish there was an easy button, because I tend to compare myself to younger people that are starting out at a new job, and there, quite honestly, is no comparison. I have life that I've lived and experiences that I've gone through that I can't compare those to someone starting out with a new career. So that easy button, I wish it was as easy as it was years ago, starting over, starting a new job, but it's not. Things are a little harder now. And when you think I should be further along now because I'm this age, or I've had this much experience, I've got this wisdom, we're just, we can only go at a pace that we can go at, if that makes any sense. I can't go any faster than what I'm doing to get to where I'm going. I have to go at the speed of life, because things come up and that get in the way that change our trajectory. And they add new components to it. They change things. So to me, if I'm comparing myself to a younger person who's starting over, I'm not going to have the benefit of the youthfulness. I have the benefit of wisdom and age and experience, but that's a little different than the benefit of youthfulness. So comparing yourself to younger starters, to me, is another metaphor that, or another phrase that the metaphor, the easy button, stands for. So number 5 is the easy button sometimes makes us feel like we should be resistant to vulnerability, because look, I'm not a beginner, or I've had experience up to this point, but I'm a beginner starting something new. So the resistance to vulnerability, I don't think we ever have that, regardless of if we've been at a job long enough. I mean, I know I was at a job for several years and had some things happen, some injuries from a fall, and I was vulnerable. I was very vulnerable. So I thought I was going to be at that job the rest of my life until I just couldn't walk anymore, till my feet gave out, and it didn't happen that way. So we are not resistant to being vulnerable, and especially as we get older, there's a little more of that risk of being vulnerable. We are more vulnerable because we have things that occur to the body as we get older. We just don't have that physical ability that we used to have. Cognitively, we may slow down. Some people are pretty quick and, they don't lose that. But there are things that happen as we age, a natural course of aging, that cause issues as we go along, as we get older. So the resistance to vulnerability, there's no easy button for being able to be resistant to vulnerability. So number 6 is grieving what was while reaching for what's next. And I think I can really, really relate to that, because I did grieve the loss of working full time on a unit that I really loved. And I grieved not having the physical abilities and the mental abilities that I had before I sustained a brain injury. So a lot of those are easing up now, except for the physical things. That's still a little difficult, but the thinking that what we had before and we've now lost and we're starting over should be a happy time. But there is that natural grief process. We've done something for so long, it's become a part of us, and to lose that or to change from that and to start some, a new project or a new act or a new career, it's a little uncomfortable. We've lost something, we can grieve it, but at the same time, we can still be happy and excited for what's next. So there is no easy button for that. We will have to get through that process. And if it means grieving the loss of what you had, then that's what you do. You grieve that loss, you go through the process, and then you don't stop what you're doing to go forward while you're grieving that. You still make progress, but allow yourself some grace for that grief, for grieving. So number 7 is choosing courage over comfort. So again, that easy button, I want to push that easy button, and I want to make things comfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm tired of that. But that is part of life. That's part of living. We can't appreciate the good times, the comfortable times, unless we have some discomfort along the way. If we had comfort the entire way, that we would have different experiences, I think, because we would look at everything as there wouldn't be a challenge. Everything would be so easy. To me, that'd be really boring, because you know what to expect. I wish that was the case at times, but realistically, we need to learn from those bad times, those hard times, those uncomfortable times. We need to get down in the dirt and get muddy and get nasty in order to appreciate when we're nice and clean and fresh, if that makes any sense. That might be silly, but that's how I look at it. So that easy button to push, to give myself, 100% comfort the rest of my life, I sure wish that was the case, but that's not. So we have to look at things as they are at this point and get through what we need to get through to get to where we need to go. So essentially, if somebody says, I wish there was an easy button for starting over, which I can say, I wish that a lot, what we're really saying is that I'm scared, but I still want more from this chapter. I still want to get to where I'm going. I still have plans and ideas and goals. I want more. I don't want to stop right now and just be stagnant, but I'm scared. So in order to get to that point, we have to really, live it. So I just want everybody to focus on trying to get there. There is discomfort, and you'll get through it. So please like, share, and subscribe, and take care. I'll see you on the next video.